Hello there, you awakening wonders. Were we lied to about 9/11? Let me know in the comments and chat. We were, weren't we? We know we were. What the hell was Building 7? What's going on? How does it collapse into its own footprint? Let's have a look at it.
As if a demolition team set off when you see those demolitions of these old buildings.
It looks like one of those scenes of an old building being purposely dynamited and blown up.
Anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under infrastructure of a...
Oh man, something weird went on. And you don't need to watch very much of this to know that can't have been a result of being hit by a plane. They can do a lot of work in saying, no, what it was is the girders were like this, and it was designed in a special way to accommodate wind and the jet fuel. But you've still watched that, and it's like,
no way.
That's all right.
No way. No chance.
Like when Bill Hicks does that bit about, Bill Hicks does this amazing bit of stand-up about JFK. He says that when you go to where JFK was assassinated, there's the Assassination Museum, I think named that after the assassination. You know, you can go in the building and look where Oswald took the shot, but they don't let you go right up to the window. Otherwise, he goes, otherwise every year you'd have thousands of American tourists going up to that spot and going, wait a minute, I can't even see the fucking road! They're lying to us! They're lying to us!
No fucking way! I can't even see the road! Shit, they're lying to us!
Because if you saw where he was meant to have got off that shot, you'd go, oh my God. And when you watch this, it's the same feeling, isn't it? Of like, well, whatever the truth was, it ain't what they were telling us at the time. So with what they're telling you now, do you think maybe they're lying about that?
Anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under infrastructure of a building and bring it down.
The way the structure is collapsing, this was the result of something that was planned. It's not accidental that the first tower just happened to collapse and then the second tower just happened to collapse in exactly the same way. How they accomplished this, we don't know.
The building collapsed to dust. You don't find a desk. You don't find a chair. You don't find a telephone, a computer. The biggest piece of a telephone I found was half of the keypad, and it was about this big.
What happened to the concrete? Concrete was pulverized from river to river. There was dust powder 2-3 inches thick. The concrete was just pulverized.
In addition to those pictures we've all seen too much on television before when a building...
The images are so unbelievable, aren't they? That it's totally era-defining. Those streets full of smoke, towers coming down. It's biblical, isn't it? We were living in a myth when that was happening.
Well, and it's what you said. Now, knowing what we know now, what we've seen, COVID, all of it, you can go back and go, that's not right. When that happened before, you're going, no way that somebody would do that.
No, but they would never do that. Not the government. Those guys with their suits and ties and their lovely hair and their flags.
So 25 years, you're like, or whatever it's been.
Total collapse in trust.
That's doable.
We say, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like quick clips of this before, but as I'm sitting here watching all these back to back to back, I'm like, there's absolutely no way that was just a plane hitting it. Like, there's clearly got to be something else that happened there because I've just never seen it like that, like in consecutive order like that. It's crazy.
So do you? Let's just get a quick vote. Who thinks it was an inside job before watching this? Like what?
Oh. Yeah, everyone. I mean, inside job.
Fuel doesn't melt steel beams.
Right. Yeah. So that's a whole generation. That's all of us. I mean, I suppose we're a particular demographic.
It's just hard.
I believe it was just the planes. I think that was clearly just two planes hitting it. The thing that I don't believe is Tower 7 fell because of fire. That's the thing I don't believe. But like the World Trade Center, I mean, it's plain as day, two planes hit it. It's a pretty big thing to kind of cover up. Having said that, though, when I first watched this in 2007, at the end of it, I was like, it's the US government. So like it can convince you of pretty much anything, but I think it's definitely planes.
So you think the planes just collapsed that building like that?
No, I think that the plane at crazy velocity with all that fuel setting off fires in a building, which I don't think the building was designed for two planes to hit it. The buildings fell due to earthquakes, and then they changed how buildings were kind of built in order to take earthquakes and stuff like that. I'm sure new buildings, I'm sure the One World Trade Center is plane proof, but I don't know. Who knows how that stuff could go down, but it just seems like such a crazy conspiracy. Think about all the different people that would have to be quiet over this.
That
I
is
don't know.
tough.
I guess we're going to
that's-
find out more about
In a way,
it.
that's a generalized argument against conspiracy, that, though, isn't it? It's like, it's too hard to how many people would you have to involve in order to control an entire population, to get an entire population to take a medication? Well, you'd need the pharmaceutical industry, you'd need the media. But the fact is then in particular, you had that. You had those relationships. And I suppose it's like that. Like, what I feel like is, like, it was our man Adolf Hitler that said, the bigger the lie, the more people will believe it. That if you have true audacity, people can't kind of fathom that would actually happen. And I do, like, another way of looking at it is the results. Like, who benefited, quo bono, from this? Well, as a result of this, some of the most powerful interests in the world benefited. The military-industrial complex benefited. They were able to leverage new laws around privacy. They were able to legitimize changes that were favorable. And you can use that analysis, I think, with a pandemic. Who benefited from it? Is there a wealth trap? Well, what are the symptoms and indicators that there could be malfeasance? Did powerful interests benefit? Yeah, the state were able to regulate. Big Pharma profited. Big Tech profited. Like all of the most powerful interests. Like, indeed, why 9/11 I think is significant is it sort of it's the beginning, at least as far as, in the modern era, I suppose, of the idea that crisis is beneficial to elites and only detrimental to the majority, to the population at large. In fact, it doesn't even qualify as a crisis. So, like, if if it doesn't affect you at all, if your stock prices go up, if you're able to legislate and regulate, if you get the war, how is it a crisis? I, like you though, Massey, have the idea of, like, nah, man, surely there would be other ways of achieving the result of regime change in Iraq, controlling Kuwaiti oil fields, legislature for war, closing down on privacy without doing that. But are there, though? What seems to be, like, again, out of the matrix is people, you can't just tell people, we're taking power, you're going to get locked in your house. People will reject. What you have to create is a kind of bewilderment and chaos. That's what I'm learning at the moment, it seems, is that through bewilderment, you can exercise control. You can find a line through it. If people don't believe in anything, if people are uncertain, if people are medically unwell.
Well, to me, it's kind of like with, like, Pearl Harbor and, like, things like that, where, like, you need something big to, mobilize the populace to really get behind what you're trying to do as a government. But when you go to, like, kind of like the moon landing, right? Like, how many people, the Russians didn't deny it, things like that. But then when you get into, like, MK Ultra and stuff, you see that, like, they really didn't have this wide swath of people that, were behind this and keeping it quiet. Really, it was just like a select group of 5 people, 6 people that were able to keep it down and tell everybody else, like, hey, this is what we're doing, but really we're doing this. Kind of like 9/11, you could have a top brass that knows what actually happened, filter out a story down the media pipeline, and then everybody is just convinced. And
That's good.
Don't need so many people to keep it a secret. Most of these people probably don't even know.
Yes.
Because the truth is being hidden by the top.
That's good. Nodes in a sort of a network of power where only certain nodes are even activated or even understand it. Not to mention what we're learning now is that you have sort of a blackmail culture where lots of people in positions of significant power, it's not like they're morally able to elect to whistleblow or whatever. They are controlled. And interesting as well that after this we have, like, WikiLeaks, where we sort of learn, like, think of what Julian Assange, like, experienced, and his revelations, it weren't, like, that bad. It was like, some friendly fire killed people in Iraq. The Democrats were sending emails around that was a bit shady with Hillary Clinton. It's not like he was like, look, man, we got images of this person doing this or that. It was kind of, and look at what happened to that guy. That guy's like, you're going to jail without trial for 10 years and we'll kill you if we can. And it's only because of, the cause got kind of popularized that Julian Assange just wasn't CIA'd right out of it. Rumble Premium is a beautiful way of getting additional content, not just from me, but from Kim Iverson, from Ruben, from Mug Club, from Timcast, some of the world's softest, fluffiest liberals. Rumble Premium gives you an ad-free experience, and you will get access to things that I wouldn't normally show anybody. Yes, that's right. My genitals. There will be no genitals. Whether it's breaking news or real talk or the content that challenges the narrative, Rumble Premium puts you in the front row. Support creators who actually say what they mean and mean what they say, who aren't just, what's it say there? Reading a script to get, money. Yeah, you don't need none of that stuff. Go to rumble.com/premium brand and join today. That's rumble.com/premium/brand, because truth shouldn't come from a filter. Remember when the government tried to bring me down? Rumble backed me, because why? They believe in freedom. Mine, yours, everyone's. Join us. Click the link.
I think about the timing of this. This is the time to do it. It's like the technology wasn't as advanced even now with everybody's cell phones taking videos from thousands of perspectives. You still watch the news. The news was like, this is breaking news. We're not on the internet looking at it.
Yeah.
Remember all the Enron scandal? Do you remember all that? It was like a tech company that was lying about the technology that they had, apparently, or sometimes is there a conspiracy with even within Enron, were they somehow not able to be controlled, so they made it seem like they never had the technology. But all in that timing, they were trying to figure out how can we do this, and they just didn't have it yet. You know, they didn't have and now we're in this AI world. We're in this, everybody has a phone, everybody's filming, but all that time was perfect time to do this, because camcorders.
I think that's brilliant. You know, that's brilliant analysis. That was the end of an era of innocence. Like,
are you talking about Enron or Theranos?
Enron.
Because Theranos also, they had the whole, we have this box that can take all of your medical history with a drop of blood. And
and they couldn't. Scam. Yeah, that was another one. Brilliant. They couldn't do it. It was like these false companies that didn't quite have it yet. And now I feel like, what trouble can we get in now that the technology is actually there?
I reckon that we're living in unanticipated challenges, like this sort of technology that could be, because, you know, I guess this was in academia and the military, the sort of internet technology, at least in a nascent form, some time ago. But as it plays out commercially and broadly and generally, there are unanticipated consequences. Say something like, one of the things I've noticed since we've been working in this independent media space, something like Nord Stream pipeline, like they were able to go, the Russians did that themselves. They blew up their own pipeline. But now it's so quick. People are like, fuck off. Like, the response is so quick and so rapid. You've got journalists like Seymour Hoffman, who's like Pulitzer Prize winning old school, going, there's no way they did that. You've got Jocko Willink saying, like, well, we're Navy SEALs, we'd know how to do that all day long. You can't pull that shit off no more. In a way, this is like the end of innocence. So, like, I think Brad Evans' analysis that when the Berlin Wall comes down, there's the only one world now. Like, there is one uniform world. When the 9/11 tower happens, is a kind of, I think what you're saying is important. It was the last moment of that era, and maybe even Massey's perspective, which obviously is sort of highly subjective, that it's like they say that the 90s was like the 60s redone. That's what people sort of feel like. It was a permissive era. There was e-culture instead of whatever drug culture fueled like the 1960s. It was a sort of an attempt to sort of reboot joy through the culture, which definitely collapsed like it did in the 60s, all that stuff. Like the master system is excellent, whether you can sort of see it assimilating and accommodating the periphery. Like, so, like you see all the time in culture, like something like emerges in hip hop, and it's all like, my God, this is fucking terrifying. And then before you know it, they're just talking about girls and jewelry. Now you agree with the system that the goals are sex and commodity. You no longer are like, we're gonna fucking bring down the institutions, the police. What? Like, it's very scary. And punk, the same thing happened. So with cultural ephemera, you can observe it. With geopolitics, it's harder to observe it because I don't think we know all the jigsaw pieces. We don't know all the narratives, particularly, occult means by definition concealed information. Obscene means information that's coming in that shouldn't be there. It's curious that the master politician of our time, Donald Trump, is masterful at using information from the outside that you're not used to having that information brought in. When you see him at the G7, you're like, whoa, this dude don't play like the others. He tells you stuff. We know where that guy is. We're not going to kill him yet, but we can. It's the sort of stuff that we all knew was the deal with Saddam Hussein. Like, my friend said to me, like, Saddam Hussein, you're told it's a trial. There's a courtroom, there's mahogany. But like how Stalin used to have trials for his adversaries that were ultimately going to be executed. We all knew what was going to happen to Saddam Hussein. Like, there's no way that Saddam Hussein was going to be like, well, actually, he's innocent. My job is he's going to walk out and go back and run Iraq again. We already took down the fucking statue, mate. It's over. It was a matter of time before we get the real one. So, like, isn't it interesting that I think that what's happening right now in our culture is amazing, because Donald Trump is both a throwback and an outlier simultaneously, because he does stuff like telling you the truth in weird ways that don't seem right. But if Tucker Carlson is correct that this conflict now takes down the Trump presidency, fuck knows what's coming after. Yeah. Fuck knows, because like that's the end of that idea. The idea of like we're gonna have someone that's like a plain speaking entrepreneurial tycoon dude who's coming out and just go, well, we're gonna kill him. Like, I don't know. We use the same loopholes. That if that don't work, is it gonna be J.D. Vance and like his relationship with Peter Thiel? Is it gonna be the Democrats, Gavin Newsom, new global imperialism? But what in any event, I reckon where both sides align is crisis benefits. And unless we sort of somehow prize apart this sort of polarity of that system, we're all collateral damage, I would say. Thanks for watching the video. Have a look at this one over here, or join us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on Rumble.